Mustrix here and makes a good point here. I think this is valid. I think we have been in more tough games than Michigan has. In other words, I feel like we might be better prepared, compare schedules. So I'll compare the schedules. This is my take on it, that even though the record doesn't show it, Wisconsin's probably still the best team Michigan's played. I still think they're probably better than Rutgers, even though the Scarlet Knights are 3-2 and the Badgers are 1-3. So we know that this is not a great Wisconsin team. This is not even a good Wisconsin team by their standards, but they still have a tremendous defense. But man, they've got all sorts of issues on offense. And Michigan took care of them in the second half. Really good game for the first half. Michigan scored on a 56-yard pass play to open up the second half and then kind of rode it from there. Rutgers played Michigan really well in the second half. They got outplayed, got down by 3 scores early, made it a 1-score game, 20-13 final. Rutgers played them close. Those are probably the 2 best teams that Michigan's played, because Washington hasn't turned out to be anything close to their preseason top 25 ranking. They lost to Montana. They just lost another Pac-12 game over the weekend. They're like 1-4, 2-3. Whereas Nebraska's played Oklahoma, which is not playing well, but is still one of the top 10 or 15 teams in the country. Yeah, they're loaded. They're tremendous. They're talented. They're just not playing at their best. But they're not playing at their best, and they're still 5-0. Michigan State's a top 15 team in the country. So there's 2 teams right there that
both had to play both of them on the road.
Both of them on the road. And I'm going to say that Nebraska should have beaten Michigan State. I didn't necessarily come away from the Oklahoma game thinking, I thought that they could have beaten Oklahoma.
They were right there. Yeah, they were right there.
Things could have happened that
they gave it away. They gave it away in East Lansing. Definitely.
Yeah, but more so that they gave it away against Michigan State, more so that they played Oklahoma really close, but still that Oklahoma was probably better. And then on top of that, who am I missing? Well, the Northwestern team is probably the worst in the Big Ten.
Buffalo, but
and Buffalo's a decent MAC team.
Yeah.
And where Michigan, other than those 2 that I just mentioned, Washington would be 3. Western Michigan's a good team, actually, that Michigan beat, and they beat them pretty badly. That Western Michigan team turned around and beat Pitt, and they're 4-1. So they beat a pretty good MAC team. And
Michigan, the only thing they've had to overcome is they had to go to Camp Randall, and they knocked out starting quarterback in the first quarter, and it was kind of on from there. So coming in right now, the atmosphere in Memorial Stadium right now, it's going to be I think Michigan's got to be a little bit just take a step back. I'm not going to say they're going to be intimidated, but they're coming up against a team that is really hungry and has been waiting for an opportunity like this to knock off a top 10 team. And this is going to be I'm expecting this to probably be the loudest game that I've ever been at, because that's just the way things are shaping up. And like we talked about just a touch earlier, is that Michigan's not seen an offense like this. They've not played against a quarterback like this. The best quarterback they've played against was a guy that was here that left because he couldn't beat out the starting quarterback here. So, Michigan better come to play. And I'm not saying they're not going. I'm not going to say they're they're going to overlook this game at all. But this is not the same old Nebraska that they've played since we've joined the Big Ten, and Nebraska's, they're not intimidated anymore. They know that they've got what it takes to beat anybody on their schedule, and I'm including Ohio State in that conversation right now as well.
All right, I'm not necessarily going to back up those words. I'm not going to go there myself. I think it's possible, but
it's possible. But I'm just going off of the vibe that I get from talking to the players and the coaches, and these guys do not expect to lose to anybody, and that's the attitude you need to have to be successful. And I have really seen a vast change in the culture here just lately. After that Illinois game, things seemed really, really, really bad. but then you bounce back with a couple of, I don't want to say cupcakes, but there was one cupcake in there. But and then you go to hit the road for 2 games against ranked teams, and you come out of there with your head held high, even though you lost. And then you beat up a Northwestern team, and right now it's. I mean, there could be a coming storm here. That's all I'm saying. I mean, that's just kind of the vibe that I'm feeling right now with everybody that's involved with the program.
Yeah. So for anybody that's not really paying attention, they're going to say Michigan's. I don't know what the latest rankings are. They're roughly in the top 10. They're right around there.
They're 9 in, or they're 9 in the AP and 8 in the coaches.
Okay. I don't take that into account too much, but anyway, they're a top 10 team.
You're talking about 2 of only 9 teams in college football history that have over 900 wins. So this is the kind of game that this is college football. I mean, this is what it's made of. This is 2 blue blood programs.
Yep.
Button heads that are in the same conference but don't play each other every year. I mean, this is another one of those games where you could go think, you could throw out there that you're in the same conference. This should be a game that is played every year. Like we've talked about with Nebraska, Oklahoma. Obviously, that game should be played every year. Nebraska, Ohio State should be played every year. That's just the way it should be in my book.
I think that's kind of difficult to work out logistically.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, this is in my fantasy world, okay, where everything would be perfect. I mean, and Penn State, Nebraska would play every year. Vice versa. All those programs would play each other every year, no matter what side of the conference they're on. But that's neither here nor there.
So, yeah, my take is basically, as I started to say, that on the surface, for somebody not paying attention, this would appear to be a Michigan win because they're 5-0 and they're a top 10 team in the country, whereas Nebraska's 3-3. That's all you look at, but that's of course not all there is to it. We've already seen more ranked teams lose in the first 5 weeks of the college football season than any college football season in history. Again, Nebraska's been tested by much more difficult competition. Michigan's schedule's more backloaded. They still have to see Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, Nebraska, and they have yet to be tested. Now, I'm going to be curious with this improved Nebraska offensive line taking on a Michigan front. Aiden Hutchinson is one of the best players in the country.
He's a beast. Oh, yeah.
And Josh Ross at linebacker is a tremendous player. Daxton Hill's one of the best defensive backs in the Big Ten, if not the country. Junior Colson, my Michigan people had told me that he was even above J.J. McCarthy, that their recruiting people thought at Rivals and elsewhere the best player that they signed, and he has had a tremendous freshman year as well. So just the personnel battles, the matchups are going to be tremendous. And I think Vegas shows you what they really think of this game, of course, beyond the person walking down the streets. Michigan's 5-0. They're in the top 10. Nebraska's not beating anyone. Why is this going to be again? Well, Vegas tells us it's a 3 or 4 point spread. So they think it's going to be close.
Hey, they're right. I mean, it's going to be a close game. There's no way Nebraska does not play a close game the rest of this year. That Illinois thing was a little bit of an anomaly, but yeah, Vegas knows what they're talking about, and basically this is a pick'em game there because they're giving Michigan that home field advantage because it's and it's being played in Lincoln. Basically, is what Vegas is telling you. So it could go either way, and I don't think anybody should be surprised if Nebraska wins or if Michigan wins. So it's going to be. I think I am very excited for this game. I think it's going to be a classic, to tell you the truth.